Hi everybody, Rob here from Prior Studios and welcome to this latest quick tip video. Now this is come from a question I was asked by one of my students the other day. He wanted to know how you could animate a ball. He'd seen the BB-8 droid from the new Star Wars trailers. He wanted to know how you'd animate a sphere so it rolled kind of correctly along the path rather than kind of skidding and floating. Because when you could work it out, you could use in the circumference of the sphere to find the distance, but actually there's a much quicker way of doing it. So I made this little render of BB-8 or a BB-8 inspired kind of droid just after I'd been tinkering, showing him how to do this. So let's just get rid of this, and we've got a Cinema 4D scene here with just a standard sphere, no icosahedron here, although it will work with any kind of sphere. This is just a simple one to use. And before I get rolling it, I'm going to make it editable, and I'm just going to add some detail just so it's easier for us to see in our viewport. Let's also shut down some of these managers just to give us a bit more room. Okay, so I'm going to go into polygon mode and choose UL. So I'm just going to take that loop there, and let's just make sure I'm choosing the right loops here. So I'm going to take that one and that one. I'm going to hit Control C and Control V, which actually creates a whole new object. That's fine. Just UI to invert the selection and kill off everything else. And if we just go into point mode and go to optimize, that just clears up any of those extraneous points. So back into polygon mode. I'm just going to hit D, and with nothing selected, that means everything is selected. I'm just going to zoom in a bit, and I'm just going to make a simple extrusion like so. And let's go into object mode. So I now have these bands, so let's call those bands, and let's call that the body. I'm going to take those bands, just drop them underneath, and I'm just going to duplicate those. Now, because of the selection was made of that original sphere, the axis point is still right in the center of the scene of our sphere. So if I take these and just rotate them 90 degrees, I actually get left with copies that are perfectly stuck to the sphere, and I'm just going to do the same that way, 90 degrees around. So I now have a ball with those bands on it. Let's just go back to my materials. Actually, I'll give these two materials. So I'll go for one here, which is these I'll do the droid kind of body first. I'm not going to bother building the whole droid. I don't think we really need to do that. I just want to get some colour in here just to kind of show you the start of the process. So give them a kind of an orangey look. So that one can go on the body. That one can go on these bands. Just control clicking and dragging to duplicate. And I'm actually just going to make them a child of that body. So we now have this object. So if I go into object mode, make sure I'm doing what I'm doing. So I could, if I wanted, take the long approach, which would be to animate this from there, to wherever it might be, and then to animate the rotation as well, so that it then rolls along. But that means that there's going to be some maths involved. It's slightly more time consuming, and when we can actually do it much easier. And we'll do this using XPresso. So the way to do this would be to have our body, which actually doesn't need to be in the chain itself at all. It can be. We're going to use some nulls to control things. So I'm going to add a null, and I'm going to add actually another null. So I'm going to call this one, let's call this Z direction or motion. It could be anything, it could be whatever you feel like really. And we'll call this one let's call it the droid control. To the droid control, I'm just going to add a XPresso tag. So that's right click, Cinema 4D tags, and you can't see this in the video, but right down the bottom of the list is XPresso, and that opens up our little XPresso window here. And what I need to do is I'm just going to take my Z direction and drop that into here, and my body, not this droid control, but the actual geometry, I'll drop that into here. What we're going to do is use a little bit of simple math just so that the position of this Z null drives, with a little bit of math node, is going to drive the rotation of our sphere, our body. So what we need to do first of all is find out the global position of our Z direction null. So to do that, we're just going to just click on the red output. We're going to go to coordinates, global position, global position. You don't need to worry about X, Y, or Z or Z. Just click on that. And then on the input of the body, we want a global position. For this, we'll just do one axis to start with. You can then go in and you can add other axes if you want. There are even ways to make sure that the ball sticks to an object, so a scenery, the landscape object or a floor, without you having to worry about the Y position. But we'll look at that in another tutorial. So for this one, we want a global position Z. So let's go global position Z, and we also want a global rotation. If I get this right, we're going to have to use, we'll want to use a P for the Z, for Z direction, because basically what we want to do, we want to roll it around the P, which is this blue band, if we're using the Z axis. Sorry, the red rotational band. Okay, so we need to link the position to the position, because we obviously want the sphere to be attached to the controller. And now we need to add a math node, and this is used to kind of divide. And let's just do it. So new node, we go down to XPresso, calculate, and we want a math node. We want to change this function here in the attributes manager from add to divide, and we need our position here can be linked to more than one node. So we'll take that to input 1, and input 2 needs to be the actual the size of our sphere. So this needs to be 100, because that was just a standard sphere. So just put 100 into there. And now if I take this output and plug it into the P rotation, I can shut this down, make sure that the Z direction null is a child of that main control with the XPresso tag on it. Doesn't matter where the sphere sits itself, you could put that in there if you wanted to, but what we're really interested in here is the Droid control null. So if I just go into my move tool, I'm hoping, if I've done this right, what should happen is that as I move it down the Z axis, this ball will rotate with it, like so. Now you can see I've obviously done that in the wrong direction. So if I open up my XPresso again, just choose that math divide, I'll just change this to minus, like so, and now we should find that the ball rolls along the floor. Now this is useful for way more than just making Star Wars fan art, but you can imagine there's many possibilities for this, and it's actually really simple. So keep that in mind. I hope it's been a useful trick for you. If you do want to go ahead and make the head, which stays kind of put in an upright position, and the ball of the droid rolls underneath it, so that you can see this is a bit of an angle here as it rolls in. Hopefully you can see that the motion below is not too strong. So basically you would build that head, build the model of the head, position it, and then you probably want to have the axis of the head part of the model at the center of the sphere, or use a there's so many different things you could do for it. For mine, I just had it as a child, but you probably want to have a little bit of extra motion in there as well. So if the axis is down here and you want to have a little bit of motion as it rolls around, you could use, the simple way of doing it would be to have a vibrate tag with a little bit of rotation, just so it rotates. And because the axis is set to the center of your sphere, the rotation will happen around the shell of the body, and that's, you probably only want 1 or 2 degrees, just so it kind of randomly moves across the surface of that ball. You could even have a little bit of Y movement as well, but maybe we'll go in and do a full tutorial on that in another video. So that's been a quick look at how to get a ball rolling automatically without having to worry about the maths of circumference and working out the correct distance. Hope that's been of some use, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.